You probably know this as the punch volley, and this is what you've all been taught to do. So you're taught to step forward, firm up the racket, keep the racket head above your wrist, and then punch the ball. And that's all fine, but that is true only for one type of incoming ball, and basically one type of situation. That's when you're very close to the net and the incoming ball is slow, so you can take a little swing and really have time to firm up and hit the ball hard. For most other volleys, that's not the case. You actually have to do exactly the opposite. So you have to have much more feel in the volley, and the contact with the ball is not short and firm, but rather it's much longer and played with much more feel. And also you don't want to step and stop and create this jerking moment in the body, but you want to flow through the volley. So how would a flowing volley look like? Would look something like this. So the key point in the flowing volley is that there's no sudden step, no sudden move, and that everything is flowing through. So your footwork is flowing through. It doesn't really matter how your feet are. And when you're hitting the ball, you want to guide the racket through with a little bit more feel and not so forcefully. So here's another example. So this would be a flowing volley. So I can also demonstrate that on the backhand side. But just for today's ideas, I want to show you a few drills. How do you develop this flowing volley, and how do you develop the feel for this volley? So one of the things that I want to change when teaching this type of volley is this firmness of the arm. The arm becomes too tense, or the body becomes too tense, and then it's very difficult to adjust if the ball is a little bit faster, and it's also very difficult to play with feel. So actually you don't have good feel when you grip the racket tight, or when you have a tight forearm. And so it's very important that you learn to move your arm gently and you don't squeeze the racket tight. And so it's something that you do naturally actually when you just bounce the ball. So if you try the bounce drill and you just bounce the ball, you will see that most of the time you're holding the racket very gently, and only when you know that the impact is going to happen, then you just bounce a little bit more. So you can try this with both sides. So you can hold a volley grip and bounce the ball like this, a little bit high, and just try to realize and feel, become aware that when the ball is approaching the racket, you're not very tight, and then you just do a little bounce when the ball comes. So Shahid and Angela are today with me again, so they will demonstrate how to do the bounce. Okay, so go ahead, just bounce the ball a little bit. It's what you did in your first tennis session in your life. So now we're going back to the basics. Okay, so forehand and backhand, you can change a little bit, and just try to become aware of how gently you hold the racket when the ball is approaching, and then you just bounce a little bit when the ball is coming. Okay, and now we will progress to a bounce volley. So I want them to realize that now they're doing this thing in the vertical plane, so they have a very nice grip and they're approaching the ball, and then they just bounce. And now I want them to do the same idea. Now that they feel it, I want them to do it in the horizontal plane with their volley. So I want them to approach the ball very nice and then just bounce it a little bit. Okay, so Shahid and Angela are now trying to play the bounce, but in a horizontal direction. So they're trying to feel in a very similar way how to bring the racket very nice to the ball without any tension, and then just do a little bounce on the volley. And usually they will feel very quickly that it's very comfortable to volley like that, and that they're able to control the ball well. But my main goal is to get rid of the tension. And so this is a nice little drill. Of course, it might look like a just volley to volley drill, but the key idea, the key difference here is that they're focusing on the bounce, so that when they're approaching the ball with the racket, they're not very tight. They just hold the racket nice and then they do a little bounce. In order to feel the flowing movement of the arm through the point of contact, so rather than punching it but more guiding it, we can achieve that by asking the players to move back to mid-court and volley from there. So Shahid and Angela, can you move back to mid-court and volley from here? And they will soon realize that punching the ball will not work well from this distance. So, and it's quite challenging to be consistent volleying from this distance. But this is a great drill to teach them the flowing movement of the arm through the contact point. So the first step in teaching the flow volley was to get the feel for the arm and for the hand. And now the second step is I want to teach them to move through the volley, so I don't want them to stop and firm up. So I use this little drill to practice moving through the volley in a very flowing way. Okay, Shahid, so we go 6 balls, here we go. Okay, very good. Angela, so here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So after we've done a few repetitions, a few sets of this drill, where the players get a feel for moving through the ball, we can progress to a few drills where I feed the ball from the baseline. We can do approach and volley, and they try to implement what they learned here. So the next progression would be just one of the typical approach and volley drills, where I feed the ball and Shahid and Angela will approach and play the volley, and I just want them to focus on flowing through the volley rather than punching it. Just flow through the volley, flow through the volley. Okay, very nice. Yes, that was very good. So you are moving through the volley, not stopping. Here we go, Angela, same idea. Moving through the volley, moving through the volley. Moving, yes, very good. So this was an example of a flowing volley where I don't stop and I don't punch the ball. I just flow through the volley. Both my arm is going through the contact point and my feet keep moving. And this is the type of volley that I think happens the most often times in doubles and in singles, because that will be your first volley in doubles, your first volley in singles, and probably your second volley in singles, before you actually come so close to the net that you can punch it away. So practice these drills and let me know in the comments how they work for you.